Escalation, by Bernadette Brand, Switzerland. Translation by Vivienne Legg, 25th of February, 2021.
At the end of May, 2019, we published an article with the title, Mysterious, Startling and Appalling, in which we reported the inexplicable processes in Billy's computer which have made his work difficult for many years and in regard to which even the experts around Yanarara and Zafenatpaneach have been helpless and clueless.
After the article of May 2019 was published, the 347 established and highly qualified experts who are recruited not only from the Plejaren, rather also from the Sonarern, and who work closely with Yanarara and Zafenatpaneach found a possibility that provided Billy at least temporary quiet and relief with his computer work. However, the joy was unfortunately only of short duration, because not even a month had passed after new and functional safety precautions were installed before they could once more be circumvented and the intrusion on the part of the third party made itself noticeable again. To begin with, it was only incidents in which, for example, Billy could no longer access the contents of folders disappeared or entire folders, including contents, were spun around as if a hurricane had raged through Billy's computer. These problems could be rectified again by core group members who live at the center or in the vicinity, or by Billy himself, in each case in arduous hours-long and day-long work, which often took not only whole days, rather also entire nights. Since everything that Billy writes is stored on our central server regularly, automatically and after short intervals of time, it would actually be natural to reconstruct everything again from the backup. However, this was only possible in the rarest cases because the same chaos was caused on Billy's backup as it was on his computer.
Already a little bit later on, a further intensification of the problem arose, with mistakes again arising in the contact reports or in the texts of the creation's energy teaching, which were of such a form that parts of the sentences were changed or shifted in the text. Entire or even just partial excerpts which were unaltered or even falsified in word or sentence emerged doubled or multiple times in various places in the contact report or in the text composed by Billy, so that the correctors, who check the texts in each case before publication for writing and typographical errors, had to watch like hawks in order to detect all inconsistencies. This kind of interference showed itself just as much as that which was described and accompanied by pictures of the computer's screen in the article mentioned in the introduction. It also often came about that whole excerpts were simply missing, or that sentences began correctly and then were simply changed in any position in the sentence so that what was said was falsified, or in the worst case even was contrary to that which had been said in the contact report or which Billy had originally written. These changes could affect single words or whole sentence parts or even entire excerpts, and sometimes only a few words of the original sentence remained while all others were changed and falsified.
All these changes of the text which came about due to interference from unknown third parties were extremely arduous and time-consuming to correct, because in each case Billy had to examine the whole text word for word and partly newly retrieve it in order to again bring everything again into the original correct form. The whole outside influence then led to Billy no longer putting the newly retrieved contact reports and texts which were related to the creation's energy teaching, which were for pre-corrections, in the usual folder on the Figu server. Rather, he used other folders with misleading labels for them, which then likewise again led to a reduction of the manipulations from outside for a short while. After a certain period of time, as the changes again emerged more frequently, we noticed that the falsifications mostly occurred with that which was stored on the server, because the documents in Billy's computer were correct as a rule, however, were saved in a falsified form on the server. From then on he proceeded to load each of the new documents for correction onto a data stick, which then likewise again led to an improvement for a certain period of time. However, the joy also this time, just like before, did not last very long, because already very soon the interference increased, the degree of which for us was previously simply not conceivable, and now made Billy's work on the computer almost impossible.
The latest dirty trick is such that for some time the changes have arisen directly when something is written, therefore while a word or a sentence is typed into the computer. That means that Billy has to go through every line word for word when he has written them, because in the words that he writes, even while he types them in, wrong letters, numbers and other characters appear. With that, it does not only simply concern a few wrong entries, rather the words and sentences are effectively made unrecognizable, as the following extract from the latest contact report, the 763rd, shows, when Billy demonstrated to Florina what happened as soon as he struck the keys.
You know, sometimes I could actually go nuts, because all that happens to me with my work is more than a normal human being can bear, if I do not never mind. And now there is also that with the contact report, that these suddenly are listed, quoted in wrong sequence and show the wrong times, which we had to correct again in recent days and put right. And now that happens with these two contact reports, which again do not have the right dates and times.
Another person would not continue to do their work. Yanarara and also Zafenatpaneach have told me what happens with your work, that your writing is maliciously impaired by some powers such that every word that you write is interspersed with numbers and other letters and is completely unrecognizable. They explained to me that it comes about that you consequently have to correct everything again, letter for letter, as both of them have established that they watched you writing and could also recognize that you typed everything into the keyboard normally and correctly, but then something became visible on the screen that you did not write.
That is true. Also, different core group members who stood next to me or behind me and watched how and what I have written have seen that. However, then practically every word was interspersed with other letters and numbers. If you want to, you can see for yourself how and what comes about with the writing, which I then have to laboriously correct, which is why I need so much time when, for example, I recall and write down a contact report or do another piece of written work. It is simply the case that I have to correct practically every word and therefore have to use an endless amount of time in order to then make the whole thing readable by making corrections.
Yes, I would like to see that.
Good. Then please stand next to me here and look exactly at my hand, when I now write. Good. Then I now write.
Олдень экснкакльмиенер сеодликсду. Геле эксбзверкс сатвашчуан персел, триестер втксе, унте фазу гернпсе эсдетексу аерсбик самесолис месунтксниксеринес аушкэгбнлирексучтфен. Уэллерт есенбеса кунстфес встурдмель, атистрнер.
That would be it, and that which I have now written I will leave that way in the computer, consequently I will not then correct it. Rather I will include it in the report that way when I recall our conversation of today.
That. But that is not possible, because I have seen for myself how, just with the pointer finger you have only tapped one letter in each case completely correctly throughout. I can really not understand that now.
Indeed, and that is how it has been now already for years, however always worse. And indeed along with diverse other strange occurrences, as also different core group members have been able to observe, such as Patrick and others, such as recently also Home Michael again, who observed me while sitting on the sofa and saw how a 2-franc coin materialized above or behind my left ear and then fell onto the table. I grasped the coin and passed it to Michael, who noted its year of issue, 1996, after which I took it back and put it in the breast pocket of my shirt, which did not do me good because already after seconds the left side of my chest began to hurt tremendously. Therefore I took the coin out again and then my hand cramped for perhaps 15 or 20 seconds, whereby the coin radically bent, as once happened when I stupidly let myself be misled into doing it consciously by means of my consciousness power.
Yes. Yanarara and Zafenatpaneach also reported that to me, whereby Yanarara said that in your position she would despair, because she could not endure and could not cope with that which happens with you.
She also said that to me, but I cannot afford to go crazy because I have to do my work, one way or another. Only, it is good that with the strange occurrences also persons were there again and again, who could experience what again and again comes about with me and my work, consequently they can attest to everything. But it will nonetheless be the case that certain people would declare me insane, if I told them about it.
Which would probably be the case.
Not again, please.
Fine, you do not want to talk about it, then so it shall be. But now I am interested in what you previously wrote, which is completely unreadable. However,
it is an old, ancient verse which I had heard from my mother and have still kept in my memory. Then I must write it again and then correct it. Look again at my fingers.
Fetch me the angel of my soul, you beloved camel. You have eyes like a camel and your beauty shines from afar, like an old storm lantern.
That is the wording of the corpus delicti and I must now correct that, as you see, otherwise one cannot decipher it.
Unbelievable. Had I not seen it with my own eyes?
That's exactly why. Pointless, yet you have said.
All these wrong entries which have emerged in the demonstration text and which also emerge in all other texts, Billy has to then delete again, whereby the deleting and saving of the correct version however often simply does not work, rather the deleted, wrong letters, numbers and symbols appear again in that which has been written as if by magic. Although Billy removed them from the text just fragments of a second before and immediately saved the correction. This completely inexplicable process which does not lead back to problems with the keyboard, because meanwhile this was changed 3 times, was not only observed live by Tua, Floina, Injana, Yanarara, Zafenatpaneach and other of Billy's Plejaren visitors, rather also by KG members, who were there in Billy's office when he typed text into his computer, such as Michael Voigtlander, who often was an eyewitness to these occurrences, because he always helped Billy with certain computer problems, or by Madeline Brugger who often served Billy coffee in his office in the evening or at night, so that he does not have to interrupt his work. All this interference is so nerve-kingly laborious, irritating and power-consuming as well as time-consuming, that Billy needed 2 whole months for the recalling and writing down of the contact report of the 15th of November 2020, until he could hand it over for pre-correction and correction.
To note, aside from that, is that for years every contact report, before it goes in for preliminary corrections, is checked word for correctness by Pat and Billy together, and both then make sure that it is also complete and nothing was forgotten. However, that which the two have not so far checked, separately or explicitly, are the contact report numbers, the date and the time of the contact report, because, as a rule, Billy writes down these data directly after the visit from Ted or some other of his male and female Plejaren friends record them. As a rule, the data was correct up to the 752nd contact report and only had to be put right when Billy was in error with the day of the week or the date, which has only ever happened occasionally.
After the publication of the 762nd contact report of the 15th of November 2020, an attentive passive member wrote me the following mail.
Hello Bernadette, in the PDF file of the 762nd contact, the date is given as Monday, 15th, November 2020. The 15th of November 2020 was a Sunday. Also, the official 760th and 761st contacts occurred in December. Obviously a mistake in writing.
Naturally, I immediately contacted Billy because not only the weekday was wrong, rather apparently also the contact report number. On his part, Billy then asked Florina to examine the date and time of all recent contact reports, which she then also immediately did and told him the correct data. The surprise was not insignificant when we ascertained that back to the 752nd contact report not only most dates were wrong, rather also the times were, but also the contact report numbers were wrong from the contact of the 15th of November 2020. With reference to the correct information from Florina, the falsified dates were then quickly changed, and meanwhile we have also newly uploaded the contact reports which were published on the internet with the correct dates. More unpleasant is the fact that, of necessity, we also had to adapt the Corona documents from number 32 and change their numbering, so that the chronology of the information from T is maintained and is correct.
The mess which has arisen in this case and the wrongly numbered and dated reports and Corona documents which were published on our website is only a small and lesser part of the inconveniences which have come about due to the strange influences and disturbances from outside. The greatest harm is the time that Billy loses due to the malicious influences because he must fritter it away with completely unnecessary, laborious and aggravating corrections, instead of being able to work on his projects and on his new book, which remains untouched due to these patience-consuming, nerve-aggravating, laborious and inexplicable processes, the cause and origin of which to this point in time have not been able to be fathomed by Yanarara, Zafenatpaneach and their surrounding crew of 347 experts, and consequently have also not been possible to even partly rectify, which also slowly but surely drives these human beings, who are highly developed in their consciousness, to despair.
All witnesses are in agreement, and all who are directly or indirectly confronted with these processes were or are of the view that they would have long despaired or would have thrown their computer out of the window and given up if such a thing had happened to them as Billy must endure daily and fight against and has done up to this day also with unshakable patience. It is therefore not surprising that also for him the thread of patience tears, because today he made it known that he has explained to Ted that, under the given circumstances, for the time being, he will no longer recall any contact reports, which is not only very unfortunate, rather it also means something unfortunate for any who attentively and with interest follow the contact reports as well as the recommendations regarding Corona and learn very much from that and benefit from that for their life and their safety.
Further still to add is perhaps that all texts of a private nature, such as personal letters, etc., that Billy writes, remain unaffected by these interferences, and neither errors nor wrong letters nor symbols are included there, and they remain completely untouched. The described devastating laborious things and irritations arise exclusively with the contact reports, with Corona information as well as with texts that relate to the creation's energy teaching, which makes the whole story even more mysterious and inexplicable as well as unbearable.